Hey modders, welcome back to ModifedRoll. Don't forget we're sponsored by DN Dice. Check out the link to their website in our description, or head over to dndice.co.uk and use the code ModifedRoll for 10% off all purchases. In the last episode, the party discussed the recent attack with the local guards. They also went over possible options on how to proceed. While contemplating the best way to approach the local nobles, they received a message saying that Lord Fennoc would be willing to meet with them immediately. We rejoin them now as they prepare to head for this meeting, in this, episode 17 of season 2 of ModifedRoll, the beginnings of a plan. As you all stand in the guardhouse, you have just concluded your conversation with Zinan, the guard captain, when a messenger had arrived to tell you that Lord Fennoc was willing to speak with you immediately if you'd be amenable to attending his estate. The messenger stands at the door, awaiting your response, ready to guide you there, if that's what you would like to do at this time. What would you guys like to do?
Well, speak of the devil and they shall appear. We were literally just thinking about coming to visit. So if everyone else agrees, I would absolutely love a personal guided tour of the city.
The messenger looks at you and was like, quizzically, when you've talked about a guided tour, and he's like, I could probably show you some of the landmarks en route to Lord Fennoc's estate if you'd like.
That would be amazing, because we're kind of new to the city and I don't know a lot about it, so I would love to see some.
Be nice to get our bearings.
Also, as a DM, fuck you very much. Thank you for that.
You know, iconic places.
You didn't have to say yes. He could have said no.
I mean, why would he disagree to point stuff out to you? He could be a
miserable.
He's got something to be an arsehole.
Could be very busy.
What I'm going to do is the old DM trick. The messenger begins to guide you through the city, pointing out some of the historical and famous landmarks.
What's that over there?
Many of these are to do with the history of the city defending itself against raids from the wasted or to the desert areas to the north. So you see some landmarks indicating where some of the orcish attackers have managed to this is the farthest that the orcs have ever reached within the city. This shop was once burned down during a raid and rebuilt on this date. Strangely enough,
What was that shop called?
Do you just want to sack the game off tonight? Is that what you want? It is. It's called Raider's Nest, and it currently sells textiles for some reason.
Yeah, and do you know exactly what type of weapon did the damage? Is it like a fire weapon? See, my family, I come from a military family, and this is just really interesting to me.
The messenger, much like myself, rubs his temples and says, my understanding of the attack is probably as deep as yours, having just read the plaque. I'd probably just say they threw a torch in the window and burned it down.
Oh, interesting.
He continues on. You head eastward towards the more gentle sloping hills on that side of the city, which lead up a languid path passing several noble estates until you get to one with a large wrought iron gate with the initials FF across both sides of the gate for Fennoc. And he opens the gate, leads you up the path through the well-tended gardens. You're passed on several occasions by carriages going to and fro. These don't seem to be noble transport carriages. These seem to be messenger carriages or merchants' carriages carrying, you'd assume, some of the goods for transport, which, for those of you with knowledge of nobles, probably mostly Guyana, bit odd to have merchant carriages coming, but from the rumours you had the other day, the Fennoc estate and the Fennoc family are largely intertwined with the merchantry of the city, so that would probably explain a little bit of that. The messenger eventually reaches the front door, knocks the door for you. Eventually a servant comes out, they exchange a few words, the messenger nods and says, I hope I was of some assistance. I guess. Please wait here, and one of Lord Fennoc's men will come and take you in when he is ready. And he disappears off the lawn before you can ask him any more irritating questions.
Oh, I was going to give him a tip, but
He does.
It's
He
run off,
would much
so.
rather not. You are waiting for only a few minutes before another servant dressed in the livery of the House Fennoc comes to the door and escorts you in, taking you through a well-appointed... Actually, all of you can make me a perception check.
Mm.
Well then,
9.
9.
4.
4, 9. Liana's?
8.
You're doing well.
Come on, Sinclair.
Where is my... there it is. 19.
Oh, thank Christ.
You saved us.
All of you notice that this place is very well appointed. Everything in here is... It doesn't scream opulence, but it definitely indicates wealth. It indicates people who are in the money, but it doesn't... it's not overbearing. Sinclair, what you notice is a lot of this stuff is new. Like, there aren't things here that are ancient relics or what you would recognize to be old antiques. This is all new things that have been purchased recently or crafted recently, indicating that this can indicate a number of things, but you take from this that perhaps that Fennoc, or at least Jace, who is running this estate currently, likes to focus on the new, the improved, continuous improvement and movement. That these aren't, the alcoves and the tapestries aren't ancient things, but things that were made recently.
Material girl.
Material world.
Is there anything that looks
easy to steal?
stealable?
No.
Yeah. No.
These are all all the stuff that's on display. When you go into a manor house here and you have something on a plinth, it's not the sort of thing you can just stick in your pocket. These are all big things, tapestries, little busts. Strangely enough, you do see a couple of contraptions, dwarven made or gnomish made contraptions that would fetch a high price on a market, but nothing you could realistically sort of reach out and just dip into a pocket. These are all things that are on display for a reason.
Nothing I can
unless you've got a 3-foot wide pocket. No.
No, like turn upside down or
if you want to just be a dick, then yes, you can roll a sleight of hand.
not?
Roll a sleight of hand.
Oh, nice. 26.
You spot a bust, but it's not like a carved stone bust. It's something that's been cast in a metal alloy you don't quite recognize. It's not quite gold, not quite silverish, but depending how
white
the light...
gold.
Well, no, it's depending how the light hits it, the sheen and shimmer actually changes. So from one view, it's like a yellowish gold, but from another, it's like a platinum white. But it is wearing a little, I don't know the name for the hat, but a little cylindrical hat on top at a jaunty angle. You're able, as you're going, just to flip it on its hat, and there's enough of a flat surface that it quite easily sits on that flat surface. So as you walk past, it's now just upside down.
Nice.
And the person taking you down doesn't notice because he's walking ahead of you. After a lot longer than I was expecting, you eventually get directed to a drawing room where you're, motioned to head inside. And again, similar to the walk-in, this is a place of wealth. Nothing here is gaudy. Everything isn't gold-lined or filigreed, but it is wealthy. The chairs are well-made and well-worn leather. All of the books appear to have seen use. These aren't just, you see some place where they have lots of books on the wall and they're just for decoration. Nobody's ever touched them. These are old, proper, leather-bound, well-read text. You can see wear and tear on them that has been well cared for and repaired in several instances, showing that these aren't just, things that are set aside. These are things that are used regularly and cared for. But everything in here screams wealth, but actual wealth, not show-off wealth. There are several seats arranged around the centre of the room with a large carpet in the middle and a table in front with a decanter of some, say, probably a light red ruby liquid, and several glasses set out. Currently, there are 5 glasses on the table. And this servant gestures you to go inside, and once you're inside, he pulls the doors closed behind him.
Is there any smut on the bookshelves?
Roll an investigation check.
Yes. 18.
Unfortunately not. This is a drawing room where Lord Fennoc would take guests, so it comes
Yeah,
as
but not
no
even,
surprise to
like-
anyone that he doesn't keep his porn in here.
Oh god damn.
Wow.
Not even like
man of
a-
taste.
Yeah, like a discreet, like
I mean,
as like a joke.
You would probably find, you probably like, most of these books are business related or reference things, or treatises or family lineages and stuff. Things that be referenced for business. You do find on one shelf in the corner near a marble fireplace, there appears to be more casual reading, novels and things. And you find maybe one or two that you've maybe read in the past, but in much finer. Well, no, you were from a noble family. You probably recognize them from the bindings. Stuff that contains like romance in air quotes.
Oh, what are they called?
Are they his hentai collection?
It's just all H-rated doujinshi.
Oh my god.
One is called The Breaking Waves, which is a maritime novel about a sailor who falls in love with a merfolk, I guess.
Ooh.
It is a romance novel with, scenes of an illicit nature partway through, but it's not the sort of thing you... Why are we talking about smut so much?
I just want the title. I don't need the
Whatever I said it was, that's the title. That's the one you recognise. I think it was The Breaking of the Waves or something.
Cool.
Do the rest of you do anything while you're waiting for Lord Fennoc's arrival?
Stand there awkwardly.
Are there any like portraits on the wall of this room?
Yes, actually, above the mantelpiece, you see one that would appear, what you would have to assume is Lord Fennoc, not Lord Jace Fennoc, who is like the master of this estate, but his father.
Lord Fennoc was my father.
I do have a name for him somewhere, but I don't have it in front of me. Give me 2 seconds. I would say you guys probably wouldn't have. It would have a nameplate on it. Lord Victor Fennoc.
Ooh.
Victor. Interesting.
Obviously, you guys would know very little about him, but from the rumors you heard the other day, you know that his father was a shrewd businessman who he would now spend most of his time in Belgravia, the capital, being the head of the Fennoc household, and Lord Jace is running this estate, getting in the practice of being a sort of like merchant noble, earning the money where possible. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to do, or are you just gonna at this point you just wait for Jace's arrival?
I'm going to have a look at the glasses and go, weird that there's 5 glasses. How does he know that there's 5 of us?
4 of you.
No, but including him, obviously. Did he specifically ask for us by name?
I mean, I would assume that the messenger could count.
Well, I don't know. I thought the messenger just came to send a
fairness,
message.
For all you know, that dyscalculus is a big thing in Kern.
How would they know how many of us there are?
Yeah, is he a psychic? I don't know.
I mean, he could have looked around the room and counted us when he came to see us.
But they were here before we got here.
Yeah.
The messenger left from the guard station where we were.
So the messenger ratted us out.
The messenger ran back from the station, put 5 glasses back, came back and got us.
Okay, all of you make a history check.
History.
Yeah, just history check.
18.
Oh, natural one.
21.
Yeah, this is why Gilliana's asking this question. She just blanked this out at the time. Whenever the messenger delivered you to the door and spoke to the messenger, he specifically said, the 4 guests of Lord Fennoc have arrived.
Oh.
Well, the servants at my place, they weren't that quick, so it's quite impressive.
Well, don't forget, you were waiting at the door for several minutes.
True.
You assume that was probably for them to prep the room for your arrival.
I know, but my parents, servants, they, especially Marge, she was slow. And I don't know, she was she was 800. So she was getting on a bit, but I'm quite impressed that they're that speedy here.
Look at Marge, what an icon.
Yeah, Marge, I love Marge. She was like a grandma,
Oh, so cute.
So, have any of you guys moved to take any of the seats, or are you just all sort of stood around the room at the minute?
I'm going to be stood up.
I'm stood
I'll sit down.
near the
I'll
bookshelf.
be sat, swinging my legs.
Is there Is there a window in the room?
Yes, there are.
I've been there, keeping an eye on where the doors are.
Yeah, Twilight's already sat. Twilight's like, hi. Sit down.
Yeah, you've sat down. You're at the arranged chairs. For Sinclair, yes, there are 2 windows. As you walked in the room to the right, there was 2 very tall, almost like floor-to-ceiling windows, in between which stood one of the larger bookshelves.
I think Sinclair would probably.
And I should have also described. Sorry, I should have also described the fireplaces in the wall directly opposite the door, and to the left was just like several bookshelves across that side of the room.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think Sinclair would probably be looking out of one of the windows, slightly lost in thought, aside from the conversation we just had.
Hands clasped behind the back, staring stoically out at the clouds.
Oh, yes.
Like a book cover.
Thinking of Paylor.
is that what we're calling it?
Oh, yes.
While you guys are also having this conversation about how we're able to prepare these 5 glasses, the door opens, a servant steps inside and says, Lord Fennoc. And a relatively young noble, you'd probably guess late 20s, early 30s, with short black hair, slicked back, going sort of today's stylist, you would almost like an undercut, short in the sides, longer in the top, but slicked back to the back of the head, a short, close cropped black beard, and a sharp, strong jawline. You immediately take in the face of a shrewd businessman, but he doesn't, from first glances, doesn't look to be harsh or hard around the eyes. There's a softness there as well. A young man. Actually, all of you can make an insight check just for first impressions before I give too much away.
Insight. 20, not natural.
Ooh, 14
plus 3, 21.
2.
Out the window.
He's not even turned around yet. He's like, there's a bird out there. Is that a peacock on the lawn? Anyone above a 15? You can see an uncertainty in his posture. He's standing a little bit too straight, chest puffed out a little bit too much. He's focused very much on giving a strong first impression, but trying hard enough that you can recognize that he's trying. This isn't a natural state of being for him, and he's very hard trying to be the Lord Fennoc, but this is a little bit out of his wheelhouse. He steps inside the room, hands clasped behind his back, and sort of gestures to the seats with Twilight already sitting and says, Please, have a seat. I believe we have something to discuss. Do the rest of you sit, or does Sinclair continue staring at the window?
Sinclair will turn, but he will remain standing.
I'd prefer to stand for now.
Where is Jace sitting?
He's waiting for you to take a seat to pick whatever one is left, but obviously if 2 guys are still standing, he's going to be left with a choice of 3 at least.
Where are you sat, Twilight? Where's Twilight sat?
I'm literally the first place I saw.
So that'll be probably the first chair, because I'm sort of envisioning almost like a 2-2-1 sort of arrangement. So Twilight, you're probably sitting on the left or right hand one closest to the door.
Okay, I'll sit on the one next to Twilight then.
Okay. Lord Fennoc would look to Cazisel and Sinclair, and if you decide not to sit, he'll just sort of nod and say, by all means, stand if you are more comfortable. I would much prefer to sit. And he'll walk over to the seat which backs to the fireplace and sit in that one. Please, would anyone like a glass of wine?
I would love a glass of wine. I don't know about anybody else. What type? Like, what year is it? I'm just asking because you look like a man who knows a lot about wine.
I do that. This is a vintage that has been imported from Pyrene on the coast, so it has a lovely, light, crisp flavour to it. I believe it was bottled around 20 to 30 years ago.
Very nice. I've had one of this year before.
You guys would know. Yeah, you guys would know. Like, good wines are like, good wines aren't super. What's the word? Not everyone, like, only nobles are drinking good wine, so they make like plenty of wine, and it will be cast for quite a long time. Especially when you've got like longer lived races. a 20 or 30-year-old bottle of wine is good, but it's good morning wine, which is pretty much what this is currently.
Obviously, it's like, I have like 60 years on this wine. That's so
Exactly,
funny.
yeah. So you'd be aware that, this is a good wine, but he isn't showing off. This is just a good wine that a noble would drink, especially to entertain guests in the late morning, early afternoon. This is about what you would expect it to be. This isn't ostentatious, and it isn't an insult either. Whenever you say that, he sort of, he doesn't reach up and click his fingers, but he sort of gestures to the servant who was waiting by the door, who steps forward to pour the wine. He gestures towards you, Twilight, and for yourself.
Yeah, I'll have some wine. Why not?
The servant begins pouring. He's poured for Gilliani, he pours for Twilight. He looks to both Sinclair. By the way, Sinclair's by the window, because are you stood on the opposite side of the room, or are you by Sinclair?
I'm stood behind one of the chairs.
Okay, so resting your hands.
Resting on the back.
Cool. He gestures to the two of you. Gentlemen, for yourselves.
I'm good, thank you. And I just turn my head.
I will never deny the offer of good wine, and Sinclair will come over and he'll actually take a seat now.
Creaks under the weight.
I was going to say, yeah, he's very heavy.
It's a good thing these are sturdily made. So the servant pours wine. You guys, who I'll not assume that you all drink immediately. I don't know how paranoid you're being, but anyone who does have a drink, it smells good. It smells of... I don't do wine tasting. I just drink it. So I'm
Twilight's
just
going to shot it.
I'm going to make some shit up now. You taste the faintest aroma of the sea air wafting over a green vineyard. Nice grapey taste. Notes of other fruits and other wine tasting things. It tastes good.
This isn't just wine. This is Fennoc wine.
This is Marks and Fennoc wine. It tastes good. You enjoy it. So with Sinclair taking his seat, Cazisel still keeping his position behind his chair without taking a wine, and everyone else having a drink, Lord Fennoc pours one, the servant pours one for Lord Fennoc as well, and he leans back in the chair, and he says, I have been speaking to the guards, and I believe that several of you, or perhaps all of you, were involved in an altercation last night. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed.
You could call it that.
Yes.
You're right. I suppose I should be more candid. You were attacked.
Yes, I was asleep, and then suddenly someone had stabbed me in the chest.
I'm terribly sorry for that. But I will tell you why I've asked you here and why I have stepped in on the investigation that was being carried out by the guards. You will have to forgive me for my reticence. I do not wish to give away too much. In situations like this, it is better to keep your cards close to the chest. But, as you say, you were attacked, so I can only assume that you're not working with these people, and indeed are probably targets. I have been investigating strange comings and goings in the city. Are all of you new here? I assume none of you have spent much time in this city before.
No, never.
The Fennoc family in Cairn have always been involved in the merchantry of the city, the comings and goings, the transfer of coin. Because of this, I have always been very keen to keep an eye on the comings and goings of the city, the transport, the merchants. Most things that enter or leave the city, the Fennoc family knows about, at least those that are recorded accurately. There have been several comings and goings that have been brought to my attention that were not recorded accurately. I have been attempting to investigate these quietly, as I did not wish to draw attention to whoever was behind them and alert them to the fact that we knew that something was going on. I believe that the person who attacked you was a part of this. Would you be willing to share any information you have about this assassin who has attacked you? And he waits.
I'm just looking to the others of the party as well, kind of getting an idea of what we wanted to say. Just kind of a look of, shall we say something?
Why were we here?
As a reminder, the whole reason you're in Cairn was to try and reach out to some of the nobles and let them know about what had happened in Knight's Valor.
About that.
Yeah, and we wanted to try and get them some help.
But just as a reminder, you guys were really fucking worried whenever you found out that Lord Fennoc had, like, taken this assassin away to question himself. So I'm not trying to throw any wrench in here, I'm just reminding you what your discussion was in the last episode.
It's very helpful, thank you.
Still very on edge about whether we trust or not.
Well, my dear Lord Fennoc, as you say, there are ways that things must be played. Cards must be kept close to one's chest. I'm not saying that I don't trust you. It's just with the manner in which we've been treated in this city so far, it's not been one which I would generally come to trust easily.
The fact that we've spent, one night here and we were attacked, it's pretty safe to say we don't know who we can trust.
He nods, but he does raise one finger and says, I would contest that other than an attack by someone who I believe is tied to a grander scheme, has anyone in the city since your arrival treated you particularly unwell? Were you not protected by the guards, provided healing? I only wish to point out that lay the blame where it should be laid. Cairn is blameless in this as far as it can be.
Insight check.
By all means.
Can I do the same?
Yes, anyone who wishes to can do.
17.
I think mine's a 13.
I was an actual 1, so...
Twilight is overcome by the flavour profile of this wine. It's like, how can a wine taste like a sea breeze? It doesn't make sense!
It's just like the book.
The rest of you, nobody rolled over a 20, did they? No, okay. You get... He is honest in his defense of the city. He is very forthcoming when he says that, something has happened, but the city came to your assistance. But from that, he's not saying the nobles or him, he's saying the city came to your assistance. And he is honest in that. I completely understand your reticence. I am not one to quibble over whether you have a right to be upset or distrustful. You spent one night in the city and were attacked. I only wish to get to the bottom of it myself. I believe there's something larger going on, and from what I was able to discover, I have a reason to believe that you have some knowledge that would benefit our investigation, and it's nothing more than that. And again, I'll let your insight check stand, because I'm going to assume you haven't just stopped trying to read him. He again is being honest, as far as you can tell.
Lord Fennoc, now, I know that you understand that we've had a rough time since coming to your city, and to be honest, you're right, we can't fault anybody in your city for their service and making us feel safe after we were attacked. They have been fantastic. I think the problem we have, and the reason we're having trouble wanting to share information with you is because we feel like we're not getting anything in return. Now, you'd be correct in saying that we've had a rough night, but you would be naive to think that this is where our rough journey has started, and we have seen many things, and we've seen a lot of people get hurt, and we want someone that we can work with that is willing to give us something back. And you've already put us on the wrong foot, really, saying that you wanted to keep your cards to your chest. You didn't even give us a chance to introduce ourselves or get to know each other, and you're already saying, I'm not going to give you too much information away, but we expect it all from you. So I think what we're looking for is more of a give and take relationship rather than us giving everything and you taking everything, because we have our own goals as well. You aren't the only one that's looking into this.
I got to put some real inspirational music behind that. But
yeah,
sip the wine.
That was good.
Yes, what she said.
Yes, that one.
yes, Queen.
Actually, one lone Tia roll sound Twilight sheet.
He is going to have an initial response, but roll a persuasion check as well, with advantage for that speech. And actually, I don't think any of you have used it. Have any of you used the inspiration I gave you?
No.
No, it's still on my character sheet.
I would give inspiration for that, but you still have one. So don't forget to use those when you want, by the way.
Cool. 21.
Damn. Yeah. He nods, sets down his drink, and says, I apologize. You're quite right. He stands, does a genteel bow. It's not like, full bow, but he bows gently, lowers his head. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Lord Fennoc, eldest of Victor Fennoc, and Lord of this estate in Cairn in my father's absence. Please, introduce yourselves. I would say, in my head, this may not be correct, in my head, the seating order going from his left would be Sinclair, Giliana, Twilight, and then Cecil stood behind his chair. So, whatever order you guys want to go in, that's what I'm envisioning the way you're all sitting.
My name is Sinclair. He'll also stand, do a bow, sit down again. The chair creaks.
I'm Giliana Rostal, but my friends do call me Anna.
Twilight's gonna put her. Is there a table where she can put her wine glass down?
Yes, there's the table was in the center of between all the chairs with the decanter on it still.
Cool. So she's gonna put her wine glass down there, and just be like, "I'm Twilight," and sit down.
My eyes will just look into the Lord's eyes, and I'm Cecil.
It is a pleasure to meet you all. You're right. I have been undeserving of an answer to my questions without providing something in return. As I mentioned, I have been investigating the comings and goings in the town. The reason I have been investigating them myself and not leaving it to the guard is I believe there is something sinister afoot. There have been movements of men which have not been recorded. They have gone to one location and not returned, or they have gone to one location, returned, and then not been seen again. There have been movements of items which have not been tracked, their inventories have not been recorded, and that worries me greatly. Cairn stands to defend the fertile lands in this region from attacks from the desert regions to the north. Before we stood here, this area was raided regularly, and with our defense, we prevent them from traveling further into the valleys and attacking those who cannot defend themselves appropriately. Should anything affect our ability to defend this valley, there would be mass slaughter, raids that could not be prevented, and death on a scale we haven't seen since before the Great War. That worries myself and those within my confidence. You have been attacked. I should be showing you greater trust and extending my hand in assistance. I will rephrase my question. You have been attacked. Do you know who or what or why they may have attacked you?
Having heard your intentions, Actually, can we roll a quick insight?
If you want, I'll let the previous insight stand because you're still in the same conversation. Nothing he's said so far has been a lie. He's obviously been very careful with his words, where he hasn't named other people in his confidence, but he has, said it's not just him. There are other people worried about this, and it is a worry that he genuinely has, and he genuinely wants to protect this city. And you could infer from the wording. Those of you who rolled a bit higher could maybe infer from the wording that it's more about protecting the city where he makes money, and protecting the lands to the south is more of a justification. But there is still a whole thing about he is still being honest when he says if this city were to fall, that would happen. Therefore, we shouldn't let that happen.
Can we have a quick over-the-table discussion as players?
I'll say this much. I'll say this much. If you guys are if all of you still refuse to if none of you pipe up to say anything and you all look at each other and start doing the eyes to each other, Lord Fennoc would say, I have put you on the spot. If you need a moment to confer, I can attend some of my duties, leave you to discuss, and I can return when you're ready to continue our discussion.
That's very kind of you. That would be greatly appreciated.
He nods, stands, gestures to the servant who opens the door. He steps out of the room and says, "When you're prepared to continue our conversation, please just knock on the door and my servant will fetch me." He leaves and the servant steps outside and closes the door behind him. And you are alone in the drawing room.
So,
How much do we want to disclose? Do we want to mention Knight's Valakheep?
I mean, how much do you guys trust him at the moment? How much? I mean, from what he said, how much are you guys trusting him?
My honest opinion of the guy is that he's like obviously been handed a very big responsibility from his dad and he doesn't want to mess it up, and we kind of have all the cards here because we have information that he wants.
yes, and there's always the thought that why would a businessman who's invested his life in a city want to see it fall?
Exactly. And like if I know like pushy parents, he's gonna be in big trouble if like all this money goes down the drain. You know?
I think maybe we should be honest with Mr. Fennoc.
At least with what's happened at the keep, possibly.
I have the letter on my person. He could be the person.
I'm scared that he knows the man though. That's the only thing. Do we think he knows him?
Oh, the letter. I forgot all about the letter.
The sorcerer.
Glad
All I
somebody
know is that
remembered.
this wine tastes like the ocean.
This letter's got to go to someone. We promised Malkill we'd give it to someone.
Yes.
I will remind you, you have, from the rumours you heard, there are 3 other like major nobles within the city. I'm not saying that to sway you one way or the other. Just reminding you that there are many minor nobles, but 4 major noble families within the city who are like the ones responsible for its like running, essentially.
The other thing is this guy is keeping tabs of, the guards going in and out. He knows. I feel like at the end of the day, the keep needs extra personnel down there. Either way, they need extra help because otherwise they're in danger, no matter what.
Just as a reminder from from what he's said and the rumors you heard, he doesn't control the guards' comings and goings.
Yeah,
he's been keeping track of them.
But that says to me that he doesn't trust the other people.
Very
like
true.
Isn't it
Very
that Carlin
true.
White isn't he like war? I'd assume he has something to do with the guards. That's me making an assumption. Obviously, we haven't met the man.
So from if I remember correctly, from the rumors you heard and like the information you were given, the Fennoc family provide money to the city to pay for mercenaries to boost the numbers. The White and what's the other family's name?
Harlow is like clerics and paladins.
Yes, they provide clerics and paladins. Harlow isn't like an older gentleman, was a cleric. The Whites, they provide the largest number of like standing soldiers. And the Asper provides some people, but they also provide a lot, like similar to the Fennoc family, they provide money as well through trade.
And poisoned husband. I've got to note it down.
Yeah,
it was a rumour. Again, that was one of the rumours you heard, was she poisoned her husband. And I think one of the rumours also was that she might have been a witch.
She's believed to be a witch. Yep.
Yes.
Slay.
So as a reminder, because the rumours I've written down, some of the rumours you may have heard was that Jace has some black market dealings and that perhaps he is trading with those settlements who attempt to actually carry out the raids in the city, which would explain some of the unmarked wagons leaving the city and heading north. They also whisper that he keeps things in the mines in the past. I may not have actually read all of these out in the recording, but I meant to. So I'm just reiterating them now. People whisper that he keeps things in the mines in the past in the deepest sections. So we'll remind you, his family owns the rights to the mines.
Don't think we've heard that one before.
And they essentially lease sections of the mines to those who wish to carry out mining operations. So they take a cut of whatever is mined. And I think it was the main rumours for Jace that you would have heard.
So there's things in a mine.
Yes, they believe that he keeps things like creatures or something in the mines in the past, in the deepest sections. But again, these are just rumors. So this is what you would have heard before you came to meet him. I'd also point out, like, a lot of the rumors you heard of the 4 major houses, like, they were all a bit iffy. That's what rumors are. Rumors aren't usually nice things.
They're usually spread by the other families as well.
Or idiots.
Yep.
Okay, so
I think if I remember correctly, like even Garrick Harlow, the one who handles all like the clerics and priests, his was that people think he's a little mad.
So it's either crazy or things in the in caves.
Yeah, so people think that Harlow was mad. People think that Asper is a witch who killed her husband. People think that Carlin's daughter is being courted by a soldier, which again, in noble families, is a bit weird. Like, you would expect nobles to be married off to nobles. One marrying a soldier would be seen scandalous, which is why it's on the same sort of level of rumor. And all like other rumors are just that he's just like constantly been fighting for the defense of the city, so he's maybe a bit like jaded from that. So yeah, none of the rumors you heard were particularly good. They're all like, "Oh, she's a witch. He keeps things in the mine. He's insane."
Yes. Everyone has Eudoxus in the closet.
That's
Okay.
a sticker.
Right, so what we could do, are we just going to be honest? Are we going to... I want something in return. I want to know about this bitch that tried to kill you, Sinclair.
I agree. I say, if we're going to release information, Gilliana, I agree with you. We don't leave here without plenty more information of our own.
Yeah, and I want a promise that those people in Knight's Valor are going to get some help.
Yeah.
So, are we in agreement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The letter to
Do we
Jace?
want to tell... The letter, yeah? And we don't say anything about... I'm going to whisper, because... Wait, can I hear this servant near the door?
Roll a perception check.
18.
You don't hear anything, and you recognize this style of room. These drawing rooms are made for discussions like this. They are thick, heavy doors. They're designed to not let sound in or out.
Cool. Do we tell him about the... What is in this letter? Does the letter have the stuff about the stones in?
It was sealed, but you were told that it would it had essentially the recommendation from Malkiel. That was it. Yeah, so Malkiel essentially told you that it would have their recommendation to believe pretty much whatever you say, with a brief rundown of what happened.
Well, all I'll say is,
Well.
considering Malkiel was essentially head of the merchants, and our dear Lord Fennoc is a merchant himself, I think he would be maybe inclined to agree with Malkiel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's give him the letter, and then in return for the letter, we want
I agree.
justice.
Sinclair will then stand up and head to the door and open it and see if one of the servants is in the corridor.
Yep, as you open the door, the same servant you saw before is stood a few feet down the hallway, giving you plenty of privacy. And whenever you pop your head out, he nods and heads off down the hall to another room to fetch Lord Fennoc. As you step
I didn't
up,
tell him what I wanted. I might have wanted to go to the toilet. That's what Sinclair says as he walks back into the room, just to himself.
Well, Lord Fennoc, you imagine, as Lord Fennoc had said to you, let the servant know. So he probably just told the servant when one of them comes out, just come and fetch me. So
Yeah,
you sit down and you eventually hear footsteps coming back down the hallway, and they are followed by Lord Fennoc and the servant re-entering the room. He nods to each of you and then sits in the chair. He's like, "Are we prepared to continue then?"
Yes, but I have a question before we start, if that's okay.
He nods and gestures towards you. By all means, yes.
Is there a Lady Fennoc?
Roll an insight check.
Exciting! 19.
There's the beginnings of a flush until he gets control of his emotions. Unfortunately, the only Lady Fennoc would be my mother currently.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Anyway, yes, we have decided. Sinclair, if you would like to start the conversation.
Yes, after that inquiry. Lord Fennoc, to start us off here, I believe we have something for you, and Sinclair will reach inside of one of his packs and will produce the letter in his hand, sealed by Malkil himself.
He nods and reaches to take it from you.
He will gently hand it over.
Yeah, he studies the seal momentarily to check that it is authentic, breaks it, opens the letter. You see as he begins to read that his brow furrows. He looks up to each of you, folds the letter back up, reaches it back to you.
Sinclair will take it, put it back in its envelope, and put it back in his pouch.
Read it.
I take the words in that letter very seriously. I have met Malkil on occasion. He is a stalwart and trustworthy man, and if he says that I should trust each of you, then I will take that at its value. Please, proceed.
There were goings-on in Knight's Valor from the very instant we stepped foot in the city.
You could say from before that.
Well, indeed. Kazizal, if you'd like to recount that part, I will continue when we get to the city.
How dare you butt in?
How dare you gaslight me?
The girls are fighting.
Yeah, it started, well, shortly after we all met, we were attacked back then as well. These strange stones being worn by soldiers attacked us.
Whenever you mention the stones, he raises a hand to to stop you as you're speaking. What type of stones?
They were a small purple sphere embedded on a ring.
Yeah.
He reaches into a pocket on his jacket and produces a small folded cloth. He sets it on the table in front of you and gently unfolds it to reveal a small amethyst gem. This one does not look like it could have been situated in a ring. It is long and pointed. He looks to each of you and says, was it a gem similar to this?
I'm actually going to reach into my pocket and pull out one of the rings that I had and show that.
He leans forward to look at the ring and said, yes, it's as I feared. These appear to be the same gemstone, although in a different cut. This was removed from the body of the assassin who attacked you. I say body. I should clarify, they were alive when we removed it, but died shortly after. We discovered it when we were attempting to interrogate them.
Yeah, that's what we found out when we removed this ring.
And it appears there is more sinister magics at work here than I had originally anticipated. Please, continue. What I will say, to save you guys the effort of recounting the entirety of what happened, if you just like to say, bullet point the bits you do tell him, and let me know if there's anything you specifically don't want to share, we can just sort of skip past that for now.
Okay. We tell him how the soldiers acted.
Mm-hmm.
How, they didn't respond to commands, things like that. We'll tell him that they were taking townsfolk from villages, and the Lord at Knight's Valor was treating it as monster attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Then recount the feelings of when we arrived at Knight's Valor. The air of the city, of how it was very, very horrible, and how we had then found out that the people were being taken to the keep itself. Oh God, what else would we tell him?
Would you tell him about the brainwashing? That fairly key component. Would you tell him about the room you found where they were brainwashing them, and the room? It's just reminding you, in case you've forgotten, the room where there was a small jewel smith set up for creating the rings. Yeah,
we tell him about the ring crafting room, and I think about the brainwashing room.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the thing that Sinclair certainly wouldn't tell him is about the 3 eyes. that we've
vision.
seen in the gem. Yeah,
Yeah.
the vision in the gem.
And maybe not the sorcerer.
Yeah.
Okay. He listens intently, leaning forward, sort of elbows on his knees, hands like clasped under his chin. And when you're finished, he sort of leans back in the chair and places his hands in front of his mouth. After a couple of moments' contemplation, he says, "This would explain several things. The movement of men that wasn't tracked accordingly would explain these movements of soldiers and people that we weren't aware of. The gems is interesting. I can look into this in more depth. I don't have enough information currently, but from what I can tell, these gemstones have been enchanted with a specific type of magic. The fact that this all seems to be occurring around Cairn implies to me that they may be getting these gems from around here, but I have no records, at least recently, of such gemstones being mined within our mines."
Insight check.
Roll it.
That'll be a natural 20 with a 23.
I got a 20, but
Ooh.
not natural.
I rolled a 2 again.
You're just kind of nervous with the,
I rolled
recounting the story. You don't know what's happening.
I
Twilight.
got 10 overall.
Okay, Twilight. You're not getting a read on him, but Giliana and Kazisel, you believe he is being completely honest with you. He finishes off by saying, "I will have my men look over our records, see if we can discover anything in the recent history of the mines that would link these gemstones to Cairn. If all of this is happening within this vicinity, I can only imagine that they're using the mines. And if they are, it would go some way to explain the movements of troops that aren't being tracked. The ones that we're losing track of, they may be trying to move them through areas of the mines that we don't track or have access to. I will have my men look into that. In the meantime, I may have been the best lord to approach with this letter. You wish for assistance in Knight's Valor, yes?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I can send messages and have paid soldiers, mercenaries, attend Knight's Valor to defend it. These will not be recorded on Cairn's troop movements. No one else within the city will know about this until we can determine who can and cannot be trusted. Would you agree to this?"
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
He nods. "I will draft up messages immediately to send help to Cairn to defend it from any possible attacks. I had been informed of these messages regarding the monster attacks, but had been informed that the issue was in hand and at Knight's Valor were recruiting adventurers such as yourselves to deal with it. I had not considered this to be linked to the goings-on in Cairn itself. The fact that it is spread beyond these walls is even more concerning to me. Do you have any other plans while you're within the city? It will take me some days to investigate the histories of the mines and pull together any other relevant information I can. Do you have any plans while you're still here?"
Would you ever consider, I don't know, a group of unofficial inspectors taking a look at your mine? Would that ever be on the cards, Mr. Fennoc?
You see him pause and he thinks for a second. There are sections of the mine that have been closed and access limited due to historic cave-ins or monster attacks in those areas. Given some time, I'm sure I could draft a missive to grant some adventurers willing to investigate these areas to determine their safety. But I will have to work this into my investigation of the history of the mines. There are many sections over the mine's history that have become dangerous or were closed. Sending you in willy-nilly to investigate randomly would take months of investigation. If you give me some time, I can perhaps narrow it down to a more likely region.
That sounds reasonable.
He nods.
In the meantime, then, while you're conducting your survey for your inspectors. Would you say there are any of the other lords who might be worth talking to in this city? You know,
Or possibly lords that you'd recommend we avoid as well?
He thinks for a second. Something on this scale, I can only imagine one of the major noble houses being involved in. We aren't talking about one or two men occasionally going missing. We're talking about records of entire squads of soldiers who have entered the city and apparently never been seen again, or left the city and never returned, not being registered or logged against any squadron or commanding officer. If you'd be willing, I would highly recommend speaking to any of the nobles you can. But I would advise caution. I don't see any reason why you could not approach them with concerns about what has happened in Knight's Valor, but as I say, I would take time to get to know them first. Of the three noble families, you have the Asper, Harlow, and White. The majority of the people I know from these families have always been upstanding people. Harlow has been providing clerics and paladins for longer than I've been alive. Lord White has been a staunch defender of the city. Lady Asper, though there are numerous rumours surrounding her and the death of her husband, has been more than cordial to me in the past, although I will admit I have at times entertained the possibility of the rumours surrounding her husband's death to be true. But there is no evidence or proof of this, so I am afraid I cannot offer any opinion on that beyond the rumours you've probably heard.
But why did you entertain it then? There must be something, like, what's that? Because we keep hearing this that she might have killed her husband, but why do people think that?
They were not married long. It was shortly after her first and only son's birth that her husband took mysteriously ill. You would forgive me for assuming something might be amiss whenever the person in question is one well renowned for her knowledge of herbs, and dangerous ones at that, medicinal and poisonous. She keeps a conservatory on her property full of plants that the majority of which only she knows the properties of. All of my interactions with her have been cordial, but there's always the question. Who was serving the tea, as they would say. But that is beyond the scope of what we're talking about here. As I say, please feel free to approach her, and if she's willing to discuss these matters with you, by all means. But I would caution careful words around each of them. As much as I trust the three heads of the households here, I will be honest, I've not been in this position long, and I am trying my best to do right by the House of Fennoc, but that does not mean I've never made a mistake in the past. People can be troublesome and hard to read, especially those of a noble lineage. There is a festival coming up, the Harvest Festival. It'll be celebrated across the city. There will be a ball held in one of the nobles' homes. I actually believe Lord Carlin is hosting it this year. There'll be celebrations across the city itself as well. The common folk and merchants will hold their own festivities, but there will be a ball held. If you wish, I can extend an invitation to yourselves, and this would be an opportunity to reach out to and discuss with the other nobles any conversations you wish to have with them.
This
Indeed.
is exciting.
Get to know them.
Yes, we would love that.
Excellent.
Any chance to get a bit of insight involved?
Excellent. The festival is due to take place in 5 days. In that time, I can draw up invitations for each of you. Will you be able... He kind of looks at each of you. He's like, will you be able to procure attire for the event, or would you need assistance with that?
Are you offering to buy us clothes, Lord Fennoc?
He sort of leans back and looks at the ceiling. I'd be willing to send you to one of my associates who could provide you with an outfit for the event.
Are you going to the event as well?
Of course, all of the major nobles and minor nobles of the region will be present at the nobles' ball.
Are you going alone, or do you need someone to accompany you?
You see that flush start again, and then he gets control of himself. I unfortunately will be attending by myself, but I would be more than happy to take yourself as a guest.
Well, since you've asked me so nicely, I would absolutely love to attend as your personal guest, Lord Fennoc. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I will have invitations drawn up. I believe that Captain Zinan told me you are staying at the Ember Hearth Gate Inn. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I will have the invitations delivered there then. A messenger will arrive from my colleague, and he will ask you to attend his shop to fit you out with your attire for the event.
I will certainly need a very large attire.
I will warn him that he may need several rolls of fabric.
Thank you.
In the meantime, please feel free to peruse the city. If you wish to take on work in the meantime, I know that the temples and several of the inns will have work posted. And I do not wish to draw attention to myself in this matter, so unfortunately I cannot set up meetings for yourselves with the other nobles. But I'm sure you'll be able to deliver messages to them, and you can attempt to set up your own discussions with them if you'd prefer to do that ahead of the ball.
We will discuss. Yes, indeed.
Excellent. Is there any other information you wish from me today?
Well, considering the assassin ended up like the soldier we tried to interrogate, I don't think there is much more. No, I think we're done here for today, Lord Fennoc.
Well, thank you again for attending and for being so candid with me today.
Sinclair will put out his hand to shake.
He shakes it, and it is it's the shake of a merchant. It is strong but not overpowering. He's not trying to get into a dick swinging contest with you, but it is someone who's confident in his abilities.
Interestingly, Lord Fennoc would note that Sinclair's hand sort of shakes slightly.
In fear? Like worry?
Something.
Fair enough.
Hangover.
I got the shakes.
It's not as, it's not a confident handshake.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay. Well, if you're just giving that information away, he'll note that. But other than that, he'll look to the rest of you. Like, he's not going to outstretch his hand to each of you, but anyone else, he will look to you if anyone else is wanting to shake hands.
Giliana would like to go into her bag, and she would like to pull out a book.
Right.
The book is one of her favourite books called My Bookshelf. I don't know. What? Oh, God, this is hard. I'm sorry, Jordan.
Yeah. How's it feel? I didn't even ask you for this. You just did it.
It's called The Song. Wow, this is
a song of ice and fire.
The song of twin passions, and it is.
Is it smut?
Yes, and it is, but it's pirate smut, and it kind of goes with the breaking of the waves, and she'll go up to Lord Fennoc and she'll place it in his hands and go, "From one smut lover to another, this is my gift to you. I'll see you in 5 days," and then she'll walk away. He takes it, and anyone else other than Giliana, who's just immediately turned her back on him, he looks confused. And you see him, like the rest of you would see him, like look over at like his bookshelves and go, "Did I leave the smut out? Like what?" He looks a bit confused, and he's like, "Okay," and he sets the book down. And to Cazisel and Twilight, do you just leave with the other two, or what are you doing?
I'm gonna leave and wiggle my eyebrows at him.
He's like, "What is happening?" Cazisel?
I'm just leaving.
Okay, he shook hands with Sinclair, got a smut book, and then I was like, "What the fuck? What is this?"
You get nothing from me.
Okay, the servant opens the door for you. You all step out, and he guides you back to the front door and down the footpath to the gate, where he opens the gate, lets you out, closes the gate. You guys are obviously guided up here. You know the route back into the city, but the important question is, what do you guys want to do? Well, that's it for another episode. Thanks for sticking with us. As usual, I'd like to thank Lixie B and Jeff for the wonderful logo and character art they created for us, the Stormweather Shanty Choir for letting us use their song Drunken Sailor as our theme tune, DN Dice for sponsoring us, and all of our wonderful Patreon supporters who have been helping us out. Our recommended podcast this week is the Dungeon Radio Hour podcast. These guys are another D&D actual play. If you've listened to our recommended podcast, or just listened to them even though we didn't recommend them, Dungeons & Daddies, this is a very similar premise where you have a group of real-world people from our world dropped into the Forgotten Realms, but with a bit of a twist. They start off, I believe, doing a bit of Lost Mines of Fandelver, then they end up in Waterdeep very quickly looking for their lost friend. It's good fun. All of the characters are great. I say characters because most of the guys are actually just playing themselves, as if they have really just been dropped into the Forgotten Realms, and sort of adapting themselves to be a different character class. And it's been very interesting so far. It's only a few episodes in, so it'll be very easy to get caught up and get up to date. Depending on your podcast app, they may not have updated at the minute because they previously were called Tales from the Crit Keeper, CRIT Keeper, but they have updated their name to the Dungeon Radio Hour. So highly recommend them. Go and give them a listen. Other than that, we will have another Explore the Guest lore going up this weekend, where you'll be able to hear me talking lore with Dylan from Hearthfire Tales. I've been listening to a few episodes of this. I haven't got far enough in that I wanted to drop in the recommended podcast for them yet, but needless to say, they will be on this list because it is a very funny premise where they are in a world where adventuring groups are treated like rock bands. It's very interesting, and you should definitely go listen to our conversation on Patreon. With this being a guest lore, it will of course be up for free for anyone to listen to. But other than that, that's it for this week. Thanks very much for sticking with us, and we'll see you soon.